After decades of careful strategy, diplomacy, and military brilliance under Darius, the Persian Empire was at its peak, vast, organized, and powerful. Yet with such greatness came enormous expectations, and the mantle now fell to Xerxes, the heir of kings. Groomed in luxury and trained for leadership, Xerxes inherited not only lands and armies, but also the lessons of his predecessors, the importance of strategy, intelligence, and measured power. Within the palace walls, courtiers whispered advice and secrets, generals debated plans, and rivals watched for the first sign of weakness. From the start, Xerxes displayed ambition and vision, determined to extend Persia's reach and assert his place in history. Yet subtle signs of overconfidence emerged, a desire to outshine even the careful, disciplined rule of Darius. The empire's strength, built on foresight and calculated action, now rested on a young king whose decisions could either secure its legacy or tip the balance toward disaster. In the heart of this colossal realm, Xerxes began his journey as King of Kings, poised between the lessons of the past and the monumental challenges of his own ambitions. Xerxes, inheriting the vast Persian Empire, now sought to leave his mark on history. He assembled one of the largest armies the world had ever seen, stretching across thousands of miles, a force meant to awe and dominate. Soldiers, archers, and cavalry filled the plains, while engineers and laborers built bridges over rivers, ensuring the army could move swiftly across the continent. Along the coasts, fleets of ships were aligned like a moving fortress, their banners glinting in the sun. Camps glittered with gold and splendor, displaying the wealth and power of Persia. A spectacle meant to strike both fear and admiration into the hearts of allies and enemies alike. Spies scouted the terrain, generals planned every maneuver, and logistics teams ensured that supplies could reach every soldier in this colossal endeavor. Every detail, from the positioning of siege engines to the morale of troops, was orchestrated with precision. This was more than a military campaign, it was a statement of imperial ambition. Xerxes sought not only conquest but a display of the empire's grandeur, a demonstration that Persia's reach and organization were unmatched in the known world. And so, the stage was set for a clash that would echo through history. With bridges spanning rivers and fleets lining the coasts, Xerxes' massive army began its march into Greece. The terrain was unfamiliar. Mountains, forests, and narrow passes tested the limits of logistics, supply lines, and coordination. Yet the sheer scale of the force was enough to strike awe and fear into every village and city along the way. As the columns of soldiers advanced, scouts reported back with intelligence about Greek defenses, while local populations trembled at the approaching might of Persia. The empire's grandeur was on full display. Banners fluttered, gold shimmered in the sunlight, and the presence of the king himself loomed over the army like a living symbol of power. Greek city-states, long rivals, now faced a common threat. They hurried to fortify passes, rally troops, and prepare strategies that could withstand an empire. The tension was palpable. The stage was set for confrontations that would test courage, ingenuity, and the very limits of human endurance. In every step, Xerxes projected both charisma and menace, reminding all that this was not merely an invasion, it was a statement of ambition, a contest between the world's mightiest empire and a small, determined coalition of city-states. In the narrow mountain pass of Thermopylae, Xerxes' vast army met a force far smaller but fiercely determined. The 300 Spartans, alongside their allies, held the line with unmatched courage, turning the pass into a crucible of valor. Each clash of sword and shield echoed across the rocky terrain as bravery faced overwhelming numbers. Xerxes watched from his elevated vantage, witnessing both the immense power of his army and the shocking limits of sheer numbers. Every Spartan stood as a testament to strategy, discipline, and unwavering resolve, reminding the king that even the mightiest empire could be challenged by courage and ingenuity. The battle was brutal and chaotic, with calculated maneuvers and heroic charges punctuating the narrow pass. For Persia, Thermopylae was both a test and a revelation. Raw force alone could not guarantee victory. For the Greeks, it became a symbol of defiance, honor, and the extraordinary lengths men would go to protect their homeland. In that narrow corridor between mountains and sea, strategy, valor, and the weight of leadership converged, leaving a story that would resonate for centuries, a clash of ambition and courage that even a king of kings could not ignore. While the land armies pressed into Greece, the Persian navy dominated the seas, a floating fortress stretching for miles. Ships glinted under the sun, banners fluttered, and Xerxes observed the unfolding battles from his golden throne, confident in the might of his fleet. But the narrow straits of Salamis became a trap for even the largest armada. The Greeks, smaller in number but clever in strategy, used the terrain to their advantage. Ships collided, oars splintered, and the waters became a theater of chaos, skill, and daring. Intelligence and local knowledge allowed the Greeks to outmaneuver the massive Persian forces, turning what should have been a display of unstoppable power into a costly struggle. Each victory and loss rippled across the empire, challenging assumptions about strength and command. As Xerxes watched, cracks began to show in his hubris. The grandeur of numbers could not replace foresight, and even a king of kings had to reckon with the cunning of those defending their homeland. Salamis proved that strategy, terrain, and morale could challenge even the mightiest empire. While Xerxes focused on conquering Greece, whispers of dissent grew across the vast Persian Empire. Provinces and satrapies, stretched by distance and drained by taxes, began to challenge imperial authority. Messages of rebellion traveled swiftly along the royal road, and the empire's intelligence networks worked tirelessly to contain unrest before it spread. Within the palace, intrigue simmered. Generals, advisors, and court officials jostled for favor, sometimes betraying loyalty for personal gain. Xerxes had to navigate this web of ambition, maintaining control while balancing the fragile loyalties that held his sprawling realm together. The prolonged campaigns revealed a harsh truth. Even a king of kings faced limits. Absolute power could be tested not only on the battlefield, but in the whispers of governors, the murmurs of soldiers, and the quiet resistance of distant peoples. Each rebellion, each act of defiance, was both a challenge and a lesson. Xerxes learned that ruling an empire of continents demanded more than ambition and armies. It required vigilance, diplomacy, and the steady hand of a ruler capable of holding diverse lands and peoples in unity. Within the gilded walls of Xerxes' palace, power was as much a weapon as any sword. Nobles and advisors constantly vied for favor, their whispers carrying plots, betrayals, and secret alliances. Every smile could hide ambition, and every gesture might conceal treachery. Xerxes, aware that a single misstep could destabilize his empire, learned to balance punishment with diplomacy, a calculated reprimand here, a generous reward there, each action carefully measured to maintain loyalty without inciting rebellion. Espionage and intelligence became as crucial within the palace as on the battlefield. Messages were intercepted, alliances monitored, and loyalties tested. The life of a king was never safe from intrigue. And even surrounded by opulence, danger lingered in every shadow. Through this theater of wealth, influence, and subtle deception, Xerxes navigated the human complexities of power. The palace was more than a home. It was a crucible, shaping not only the king's decisions but the fate of an empire stretching across continents. Xerxes' reign reminds us that even the mightiest empires have their limits. His campaigns stretched the Persian army across continents, displaying grandeur, ambition, and unmatched scale, but also exposing the fragile threads holding an empire together. Overextension of resources, misjudged strategy, and the subtle weight of hubris slowly eroded the strength that his ancestors, like Darius, had carefully built. Each battle, each rebellion, and each palace intrigue became a lesson in the delicate balance between power and prudence. Xerxes' legacy is complex. Towering monuments of ambition sit alongside tales of costly mistakes and near-catastrophic decisions. His name evokes both awe and caution, a king of kings who reached for glory, but found that ambition, untempered by wisdom, can be a trap as formidable as any enemy army. Through triumph and overreach, Xerxes' story endures, teaching that ruling a vast empire requires not just strength, but foresight, humility, and the courage to know one's limits.